Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a review on the Essex Serpent. So, before I head into my thoughts and feelings on the Essex Serpent, just a quick disclaimer, I don't plan on having any type of spoilers in this particular video. I'm going to try to keep things as general as I possibly can, but yeah, if you're just worried about any type of spoiler and you are very interested in watching the show, any little thing that I might say that you might consider a spoiler, you might want to come back. But for the most part, I'm going to definitely avoid big, major, huge spoilers and whatnot. So yeah, let's get going. What is the Essex Serpent even about? Let me read you off my notes that I wrote here really quickly. For the most part, I got the summary off of IMDb. So yeah, The Essex Serpent is a 6-part Apple TV Plus series that is based off of the book by Sarah Perry. I need to get the book. After watching this show, I'm kind of curious and intrigued about the book. And yeah, it follows Cora Seaborn. She is a London widow, and she travels to Essex to investigate reports of a mythical serpent. She forms a bond with the local pastor, but when tragedy strikes, the locals accuse her of attracting the creature. So, so yeah, this show, you guys, I'm still not quite sure. It's been a little while since I watched the show, and it's like I've still been trying to process it and think about it. I'm just not sure how I feel about it. I think I have very mixed feelings about it. Overall, I did like it. Let me put that out there and let me be clear. For the most part, I did like it. I didn't love it, but I did like it and I did enjoy it. And I still found it to be a very well done production, you know? I think it looked great. That was kind of the big thing with this show. It looked great, the landscapes, and really giving you this really nice atmospheric vibe and tone, just the way the coloring of this world was, because it was kind of really bleak and dreary. There was never anything that was like eye-catching with color and whatnot. A very bleak and dreary mood and atmosphere to kind of the look and coloring of the show, if you will. But yeah, still very beautifully done in its own way. And yeah, I liked the costuming, set design, everything looked great. I mean, for crying out loud, even the actors looked great. Because this has Claire Danes and Tom Hiddleston and Clemence Posey, you know. Everything looked great. But if you can't tell what I'm kind of avoiding here, I don't think the writing was like peak writing. I definitely did have some issues with the writing, which I'll get into as I go here. And I guess part of the writing issues was also the pacing issues with this show, which is a writing problem as well. Pacing is part of a writing problem. This show was only 6 episodes, and I have mixed feelings about that alone, because sometimes I felt like there needed to be more episodes, but then sometimes I was sitting there thinking, okay, this needs to be less episodes. And that's definitely the pacing is definitely a big problem with that, why I feel that way. Because sometimes the pacing seemed too quickly done, because then like just individual relationships, not necessarily romantic relationships, like both types of relationships, platonic relationships, friendship relationships, romance relationships, enemy relationships, you know, various different type of relationships. A lot of times the pacing was done just so quickly over the course of the show that I felt like a lot of the various different forms of relationships weren't fleshed out that much. That they were all very quick, and sometimes I found myself going, I don't know why I should care about this relationship, you know? And then, yeah, just pacing, the pacing just sometimes either felt too slow or too fast. You know, I don't know. It was very confusing. Like I said, I have very complicated feelings about that. Now, what I think definitely worked about this show, that I was the most intrigued about, because this show, it follows a woman played by Claire Danes named Cora Seaborn. Cora, she's a woman in Victorian society. We all know how Victorian society was back in the day. You know, it was, women had their place. You know, women didn't have voices. They had their place, which was the home, where they had to raise children, be with their husbands. And the Cora Seaborn character, she is just not that, you know. She was that at some point. The way the show opens, her husband has recently died. She is now a widow, and she has this newfound freedom that she's not really had for quite a number of years. And her greatest passion is archaeology, especially kind of dealing with, I guess, like dinosaurs, you know, was kind of my understanding. She's pretty much an amateur archaeologist, and she loves collecting little things of bones or seashells or just anything that's really ancient, you know. So at the start of the show, like I said, her husband has just died. She has this newfound freedom, and she starts kind of hearing these rumors in Essex that there's like this serpent, apparently, roaming the waters around Essex. So something kind of similar, I would think, to the Loch Ness Monster with Scotland, you know? So she hears these rumors that there's like this serpent that's terrorizing this village, and a couple people have died or gone missing. So to her, like I said, she is an amateur archaeologist. To her, this really poses something really intriguing and fascinating, because she feels like, oh, okay, I think I can maybe go to this village and maybe kind of educate these people, educate this village, that don't be afraid. This isn't a creature to be terrified, you know? And yet she also thinks it might just be a creature, kind of a last living creature from the time of the dinosaurs or whatever, you know? A creature that has escaped extinction. So that's kind of where you start at the beginning of the show. So from that alone, like I said, what this show, I think, did really well was the whole discussion of science versus religion. Because Cora, like I keep saying, she's an amateur archaeologist. She is coming from this with the point of view of education and science and fact. And she goes to this village, and this is a village of a very religious, tight-knit community. Everybody knows each other. Everybody knows everybody's names. Everybody visits the local church and the local tavern and whatnot. Everybody is very close. And so this village, they are very, not only are they very religious, but they're very superstitious. And they see this serpent as kind of this, you know, kind of going along with the Bible, with the Garden of Eden and Eve being tempted by the serpent, which is supposed to represent the devil. This village sees this serpent as a legit, real serpent, and they see it as the devil coming to destroy their town. So, once again, this show, I think, did a really fantastic job of presenting that dichotomy of science versus religion, you know, fact and superstition and whatnot. That is the aspects of this show that I in particular really enjoyed and what I kind of got the most out of. And whenever the show kind of strayed from that, that's when I felt the show was at its weakest and at the most not very well written, if that makes sense. So you have Cora's character, and then kind of the opposite of her character is the local pastor named Will Ransom, played by the lovely Tom Hiddleston, you guys. And once again, you have this wonderful back and forth here, because Cora representing science and Will, the pastor, representing religion, obviously. But even the pastor, Will is very progressive in his own way too. He he's not totally superstitious, and I think he kind of views his teachings, how he kind of teaches the Bible and how he sees the Bible. I think he sees things as more as parables and metaphor, if you will. You know, he doesn't take anything that he's preaching as literal, whereas the villagers do take things as very literal. So when Cora arrives to this village, he is very attracted to her, and he is a married man. You guys have to put that out there. He is a married man. The thing is, he is very attracted to her. I think he's attracted to, I think, her very smart, independent mind, her very scientific mind, where he is a man living in this very small, tight-knit, superstitious community, and I think he has, I think he has a scientific mind of his own that he wants to kind of get out there, because he definitely does not see the serpent as anything literal. He definitely sees the serpent as just part of everybody's imagination, and so he's definitely on Cora's side that it's not real. If it is real, it is a genuine creature, maybe from the prehistoric era or something, So I did kind of like that back and forth between Cora and Will, what they both represent and how they both kind of view each other and see each other, and kind of this whole opposites attract, if you will. So yeah, as things get going fairly immediately with this show, once Cora does arrive to this small superstitious community, people are disappearing. People see her as not the norm. Once again, this is the Victorian era. A woman has her place. She's supposed to stay quiet, off to the side, and Cora doesn't do that. She comes into this village. She has opinions. She has a mind of her own. She's very independent. She's not there with a man. She's just there with her child and her maid, The people of this village, this is a no-no. They do not like this, and they immediately do not like her, and they immediately kind of start thinking that she is a witch, and they start accusing her of attracting the creature, and this is why the creature is there and whatnot, because she is like the devil to them. She's a witch. She's the devil. And there is some really great scenes in particular that I liked in the first couple episodes, and then a couple near the end, where if you've read something like Arthur Miller's The Crucible, and there's a couple scenes that are very highly reminiscent of something like The Crucible, because in The Crucible, it is about all these young girls, teenage girls, that start accusing everybody in their town of witchcraft, and they start having hysterical fits and tantrums, and they pretend they're acting like, oh, possessed by the devil and this and that, and they're really not. They're just trying to get back at people they don't like. There are scenes very reminiscent to that, like that are like in The Crucible and whatnot, that I really loved in this. So back to some of the things that I was having trouble with this show. Now that I kind of got a lot of the big, I guess, kind of more of the thematic things out of the way. I think just a big thing, other than the writing, well, I guess this is still a writing issue, I guess. I feel like the show had a very difficult time staying focused. I think there was just too much extra unnecessary stuff going on in this show. And the thing is, I don't know, because I haven't read the book, I don't know what is from the book and what has been added. Because, once again, like I was saying, sometimes I felt like the 6 episodes was too much, but then I also felt like it was too little. So I don't know what was in the book, what was side plots in the book. To me, like I keep saying, what worked about this show was definitely the whole thing, the back and forth between science and religion, and kind of what Will represents, what Cora represents. And, once again, anytime it strayed from that, I just didn't like it that much, and it just had a very difficult time staying focused on what it needed to be staying focused on, because then it starts kind of getting into some of these other relationships that are not really well developed, and then you get to the final episode and it's like, why should I care about this? Was this ever properly set up, And I even almost feel like there's an unnecessary love triangle in this, because Cora has a doctor friend that she's known for a long time, played by Frank Delane. He has unrequited feelings and love for Cora, but she does not return that. And he's pretty much the other man in the love triangle, and he he totally hates Tom Hiddleston's character and everything. So yeah, I even felt like this love triangle was unnecessary. And then there was even another whole subplot with Cora's maid. Her maid, they always made references that she was a communist, and she wanted to, you know, better the lives of the poor around England, and better housing and better healthcare and stuff. And that whole subplot, I didn't get the point of that whole subplot. It seemed forced. It seemed unnecessary. Yes, it was tackling some important issues that need to be tackled, you know, but this was not the show to do it, you know. So there were just various different subplots like that felt forced, not naturally done in the show, and yeah, forcing the episodes to be longer than what they needed to be, just stretching out the time. Because this show, I think, could have just been done either in just a movie, you know, either a 2.5 hour movie, or maybe done in a 3 episode increment or whatever. It was just not very well focused, overly long in places, and just a bunch of subplots that did not need to be there. And once again, like I said, I've not read the book. I don't know if a lot of these subplots were even in the book, or if they were just maybe better well developed in the book than they were in the show. So yeah, just running through the cast really quickly. I did like Claire Danes' performance in this as Cora Seaborn. I think was it Keira Knightley or Michelle Dockery? God, who was it? It was either Keira Knightley or Michelle Dockery that was originally supposed to be in this show. And quite honestly, though I do like Claire Danes, I still feel like this was still not the right thing for her. I think this would have been better with Keira Knightley or Michelle Dockery, to be quite honest. I don't know if I just have a bias towards them. But yeah, Claire Danes, I mean, she had kind of her highs and lows with this performance. But once again, I think a lot of it was more the writing more so than her. So I don't know, if Keira Knightley or Michelle Dockery had been in this, maybe I would have still had some of the same issues. But yeah, Claire Danes was fine. I did like her. I definitely liked Tom Hiddleston in this, who plays Will Ransom, the pastor. I did like him in this. Once again, Tom Hiddleston is a great, magnificent actor, but once again, just some of the writing was not serving the character very well, and it's like he forms insta-love towards Cora, and I never quite understood that. It's like, you're a married man, you have a beautiful wife, you know, why are you straying from your wife? I never quite totally understood that. So it's kind of hard to understand some of his feelings over the course of the season, you know. And then there's Frank Delane, who plays Dr. Luke Garrett, who is the other man who loves Cora and whatnot. I did like Frank Delane. Frank Delane, he's kind of one of those actors. He can go pretty high and he can go pretty low, you know. His performance can be very, very all over the place, and I think he was just having a great time with what he was given, you know. But yeah, I did like Frank Delane. The last thing I saw him in, he was in Fear the Walking Dead, and I'm still a little bitter about how his character is treated on Fear the Walking Dead, you guys. But yeah, I did like Frank Delane. Though I wasn't really a fan of the love triangle and just some of the subplots with him, but still, I did like him. And then Clemence Posey plays Stella Ransom, who is the wife of Tom Hiddleston's character. I really liked Clemence Posey. She's just one of those actresses. She kind of just randomly pops up in a lot of stuff, and I always usually like her. I tell you what, out of all the characters, I felt the most pity and compassion and sympathy for her. And she's a supporting character. She's not really a main character, you know. I felt the most sympathy and pity for her compared to, like, Cora and Will, who were supposed to be the main characters and were supposed to be invested in their relationship. I always felt bad for her. Like, your husband is cheating on you. I feel so bad. And then Haley Squires plays Martha, who is Cora's maid. I was fine with Haley Squires. I wasn't a fan of kind of her subplot, whatever was going on there. I wasn't a fan of that, but I did like her relationship with Cora, because they have a relationship that's more a friendship, since Martha is the servant, you know, she is the maid, you know, her and Cora do develop, they have a unique friendship and bond with one another. It goes beyond just servant and master and whatnot, you know. So yeah, I mean, that was pretty much it. I feel like I've been kind of rambling, and maybe I've not got all my feelings totally out, but I mean, that was pretty much it. Kind of the bulk of what I wanted to say about this show. It's fine. I liked it. I didn't love it, but it was fine, and I did enjoy it. Once again, it looked nice, had a great cast of characters, just the writing really kind of suffered in places. So yeah, I mean, that's my biggest issue, is definitely the writing, just the weird pacing, maybe too many episodes at times, unnecessary subplots, and lack of kind of relationship, the lack of explaining relationships and whatnot. There was a lot going on in this show, and sometimes I just wanted it to stay a bit more focused on what it needed to be staying focused on, if that makes sense. So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and my feelings on the Essex Serpent. In the comments below, have you guys seen this show? Do you want to see it? Don't let my review discourage you, because you might enjoy it more than I did. But yeah, if you did see the show, if you want to see it, just let me know. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye guys.